And then as soon as you found your comfortable space, allow your eyes to close or your eye gaze to soften. And then breathe deeply in through the nose. Feel it travel all the way through the body and then out again through the nose. Count the length of your inhalation. Allow your exhalation to become longer. Doesn't matter how much longer. But see if you can tune into that element of extra softness in the exhalation. That moment where you can just let go and give a little, surrender. Just taking 5 more really deep breaths. And then make a few gentle movements to your body. And you're going to start in a seated position. It doesn't matter how you find your seated position. Just make sure you can be evenly placed on your sit bones. We're just going to take a little lean of the head to one side with the hand gently resting just over the ear or slightly behind the ear. Your other arm here. Either sweep it around, take it behind you, maybe slide it up the centre of your back. And just play around with your chin positions, work out where is best for your neck. Maybe drop the chin down towards the chest or the opposite armpit. Or lift the chin and the eye gaze up to the ceiling. Gently push your head into your hand to return your head back to upright. Then your hand that's on the top, reach down the center of your back towards the fingertips. Doesn't matter if they don't reach. If you don't reach, you can always place something more solid or even a belt. It's easier said than done. In both hands. And then walk your hands closer together so you can sit a little bit more comfortably into the stretch. Then think about lengthening your elbows, one towards the ceiling, the other one down towards the floor, and then just pulling them back behind your torso. Just take 5 more breaths here. Maybe you notice it mostly in the front of your shoulder. Maybe you notice it more in your tricep. Maybe your arms are just starting to ache. But can you go with that feeling, the feeling of the blood draining from the highest extremity down your body? At the end of your 5 breaths, gently release your hands, give your arms a little shake out. Maybe your head needs a little lean side to side. And then let's take it to the opposite side. So leaning the head, ear towards the opposite shoulder, ear towards the shoulder, other hand, maybe play around where it goes. Or slide it up the center of your back. Play around with your head positioning. Maybe tuck the chin towards the chest. There's no right or wrong with this. Just search for what feels the best on your neck, your upper traps is the muscle that it's targeting. Press your head into your hands, return it back to upright. And then the arm that's on top, slide the hand down. Remember, it doesn't matter if they don't actually touch. It's just that general direction. Feel the space with anything that you have. And then think about expanding the rib cage as you breathe. Stay with the breath, even when the struggle happens. going to take 5 more breaths here. At the end of the 5 breaths, let your arms return back down. Give your shoulders a little shake out if you need, or anything that your body feels like it needs right now. Okay, so if you have dodgy knees or sensitive knees, is probably the better word, you may want to place something soft underneath it for this. Dragon. So a nice deep lunge position. So yeah, I'm going to grab a little cushion, place it underneath the back knee just for a little bit more comfort. And we're going to spend some time here, so make sure this feels comfortable for yourself. If you wish to, you can drop lower down onto the forearms. And if that doesn't quite feel close enough for you yet, you can always place something underneath, like this handy little bolster, to rest the forearms on. And then just check your hip positioning. You can take your foot a little bit wider than your shoulder if you wish, if that feels more comfortable. You just aim to have your torso and your pelvis square to the floor. So we're not shifting a little bit more to one side than the other. And as you breathe in, just try and pull your whole body weight forwards a touch. And this can be a challenging pose to hold for a period of time. So if it feels like you've gone too deeply into it, too intensely, then back out a bit, a touch, just so you can find a place where you can relax into it. Taking 5 more breaths here. at the end of those 5 breaths, we're going to transition to the other side. So yeah, take as much time as you need to transition. And do whatever you need to do in between to feel good. Let it feel like you've got the right setup before you let yourself sink deeply into it. So foot slightly outside the shoulder, outside the hip. Open space, hips square to the floor. Pelvis level. Try and observe any areas in your body that feel like you're clenching. As you exhale, let those areas soften and widen. And feel the ease in the rest of your breath. Can you surrender a little bit more? Taking 5 more deep breaths. the end of your 5 breaths, make small movements, climbing yourself out of the pose. Shifting your knees back underneath the hips and coming onto all fours. Just taking a couple of rounds of upward cat, downward cat. And we're going to step the right foot forwards again. If you didn't do your right foot first time, just do whatever leg you did first time round first. And then from here, we're going to take the lift of the toes and a quarter turn, pivoting on the heel to come into lounging lizard. So this, depending on the size of your hips, you might want to be a little bit narrower than outside your shoulder. You may need to be a little bit wider. It's entirely up to you and your body. You can keep a cushion under the back knee if you wish to. But this is all about this creating that space around the outside of the top leg. So again, that position is from a lunge, lift the toes, pivot a quarter turn round, and then bring your hip down to the floor. And then if you're feeling like you want to come down a little bit lower, then you can always come down on your forearm here as well. You don't have to stay in your hand. It's going to take 5 more breaths here. Just see if you can breathe the left side of your chest forwards a little bit more. Try and relax through each joint in the body as you exhale. If you're laying down on your forearm, climb up onto the hand. This is at the end of your 5 breaths. If you're still going, you're welcome to continue on. Turn your toe back to the short edge of your mat. You can remove the cushion if it's underneath your knee, and then walk your foot over to the opposite side of the mat. Bring the shin down towards the floor for swan. So choices here. This is the full pose. If you wish to, you can sit your bum down towards the side, bend the back knee as much as you wish, and then aim the direction of your chest over the center of your shin. Alternatively, you can choose to lay down, cross the ankle over the knee and pull the thighs in towards you. So whichever one of those works better for you. Just checking your shin is roughly wider than your hips. We're going to spend a delicious 5 minutes here. Doesn't that sound good? If it's a struggle to keep your balance, as in it feels like your hips tipping a little bit more to one side than the other, place something like a cushion or a block underneath that side. Yeah, and that will help to hold you steady. You don't have to worry about trying to fight the wanting to lean over a little bit more. Same goes for your shoulder actually. So if you're down onto the floor completely, sometimes it can feel like you lean a little bit more onto one side of the chest than the other. So if that's the case again, place a block underneath the shoulder of the side that feels like it needs supported. Or you can even place a block underneath the forehead. Allow your body to feel heavy in the exhalation. Just taking 3 more breaths here. At the end of your three breaths, slowly walk your hands back in. Make your way out of the pose. Again, choosing to do anything along the way that your body needs. Maybe it's just a little shift side to side. And then let's repeat those 2 on the other side. So whenever you are ready, coming into the lunge position first, lifting the toes of the front foot, turning them a quarter turn away from the body, top hip pulls back, bottom hip drops towards the floor. You can make the stance narrower if you need to, wider if you need to. And then either staying up on the hand or lowering down onto your forearm. You may even want to try experimenting with the leaning your chest forwards into the leg a little bit more. Just taking 3 more breaths here. And transitioning into swan pose in your own time from here. We're walking the toes over to the other edge of your mat. Bringing the shin down towards the floor, sliding the other leg back. Again, picking any of the other options. Lay down on your back or bending your back knee and sitting onto the outer hip. It's entirely up to you, but whenever you're ready, bring your forearms down or bring your head down to the floor and reach the arms forwards. finding that longer exhalation than you have your inhalation. Again, doesn't matter how much longer it is. Taking 5 more deep breaths. As soon as you're ready to move, you're climbing up onto the hands, doing whatever your body needs right now, but make your way onto your back as soon as you're ready to. You may want to have a belt. You may not. You don't need it as such. It might just be helpful. You're going to lay down onto your back. Take one leg up towards the ceiling for the hamstring stretch. So if you're going to use a belt or something, you just strap it around the sole of your foot. Aim to have your leg as long as possible. If it's bending like this much and you're trying to force it in closer, you're better off lengthening the leg and having it a little further away from you instead. If you want to add in a little bit more of a calf stretch, flex the foot. So bring the toes down towards the shin. If you don't want to use a belt, you don't have to. You can gently hold the back of your leg somewhere, whether that's the back of the thigh, the calf, your foot, if you're bendy enough or your legs are short enough. Doesn't matter where your leg appears to be. What matters is what you feel. So feeling the hamstring stretch from behind the back of the knee down to the insertion point, the point of origin, which is around your sit bone. While the leg can bend as well, if that feels like it holds your hips in a better position. And if your hip flexors are tight, you may notice if you do bend your knee, you get a little bit more flexibility and range in your hamstring of the leg that you're stretching. So that is something to consider. I'm actually just going to be here for another 45 seconds. And if you're holding a bell or similar, pass it into the opposite hand of the leg that you're stretching. You're just going to gently pull the leg across the body. Your hips going to lift up off the floor, roll over onto your side, twist. And here, you don't have to keep this leg long and straight. You can bend the knee here if that works better for you, especially if you're holding your leg and you can't quite keep hold of it with your leg straight. Then bend the knee. Other arm reaches out to anchor the opposite shoulder to the floor. Taking one more breath in. One more breath out. And slowly transition back to the center of the mat. Remove the belt if you're using one and strap it around the other foot. Hamstring stretch, optional calf stretch to add into. create intensity without stress. We're in our last 40 seconds here. And then passing the leg or the strap into the opposite hand. Slowly lower the leg over towards the opposite side. Anchor the shoulders onto the floor. Feel free to change your grip or adjust your leg position to be somewhere that feels good for your body. If you find that the leg is hovering off the floor, then fill the space with something. Just taking the last 3 breaths here. Feeling every sensation, appreciating every sensation. And then whenever you're ready, letting go of where you're holding on to. Bringing your body back to the center of your mat. Bringing the knees into the chest and just drawing the shins in closer. Maybe having a little rock from side to side. And then settle into a comfortable position to relax. Wrapping yourself up in blankets or extra layers of clothing if you wish. And as soon as you settled, allow the eyes to close or your eye gaze to melt. Breathing fully. Be in every single part of every single breath. This time find a rhythm of 1 count inhalation, double the exhalation. So you can start wherever you like, really, but you can always start breathing in for just 1 count, breathing out for 2, breathing in for 2, breathing out for 4, breathing in for 3, breathing out for 6, breathing in for 4, breathing out for 8. And if you don't make it for that whole count, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Repeat the number which feels best for you. A little challenging but manageable to stay with the same rhythm, the same count. At the end of your next exhalation, allow your counting to cease. And just feel the natural flow of your breath. Slowly beginning to bring movement back into your body as and when you're ready. Doing whatever is instinctive. And in your own time, in your own way, sit yourself back up.